Andrew, thank you so much for joining us on Social Impact Power Chats.
Thank you for having me.
Amazing. Well, I know you have, like so many of our guests, a story that kind of bobs and weaves that brought you into impact. But if you can give us a sense of how you got here into this impact work, that would be amazing.
Yeah, I'd love to. I'll say it probably wasn't intentional or as intentional as I'd like to be. I really started out my career in technology and on the for-profit side, very much entrepreneurial in nature. Um, and at some point in time, my paths crossed with XPRIZE, actually the current CEO of XPRIZE, because I used to work with her on the for-profit side. And what really attracted me to XPRIZE is it is very much an entrepreneurial model applied towards the problems that we're driving. X prizes in and of themselves create value. Their entire ecosystems of startups and teams get born out of prizes. And so when I dove deeper into that impact model and how we can leverage every dollar of prize purse towards not just one group or team of people focusing on a problem, but hundreds or thousands focusing on a particular problem, to me, it was the most leverageable and impactful way to spend those dollars. And so once I learned, I was hooked. And now 4 years later, I'm still here doing this work.
Amazing. And just, like a call out for those listening who who see somebody who they know and appreciate. Being connected and keeping your network tight and keeping those relationships tight can be just as important as the organization that you're in, because it like you said, Andrew, I mean, you came along with a CEO where you didn't know that that was going to bring you into an impact role, but it's just amazing to kind of see how people get into these jobs. So having said that, you are now in this incredible work where you are able to see impact happen at scale. Could you tell us a little bit about your day job and what impact looks like for you and your team?
Certainly. So my title is Chief Impact Officer. So obviously, impact is my job. Um, but what I spend a lot of my time doing is really diving deeper and deeper into what does impact of a prize mean. What most people probably don't realize, those that know X Prize know we are a mission aligned organization and we use prizes to address really challenging problems. What they probably don't know is how those prizes actually have that impact. And the first and most obvious one is that we get innovators to come up with innovations that help to solve those problems. But what they don't realize, that's only like one quarter of the way in which prizes have impact. They prizes raise mind share around a problem. Prizes generate investment into the space. They move the needle regarding the standards we use to even measure the innovations that are coming out of it. So my job really is, how do I quantify that? How do I go back and look in past prizes and in future prizes as to the ways in which these prizes are changing the world and having an effect on the world? And then, if possible, I owe it to my sponsors on the prizes to relate that back to the investment they made into the prize itself. And ultimately, the goal is to really calculate, for every dollar of prize purse that a sponsor puts up, how many dollars of subsequent impact, both direct and indirect, do we get out of that prize? Then I take those learnings and we apply those learnings around where it was more or less impactful and apply it to the next prize and the next prize and the next prize. So therefore we can keep increasing the subsequent impact those prizes have on the world.
And obviously we've both talked about how much we enjoy data in our respective corners of the world. One of the things that I love about what you do is it's proof positive that you're capable of tracking impact. So many people say, oh, well, if we could only know the impact of this, that would be great, but that's impossible. And I think one of the things that's so powerful about what you all are doing is saying that actually that thesis doesn't work. It's not true. And we know that if we are going to spend the time, money, and resources doing this, it has to have an impact. So therefore we must measure that impact, which, is brilliant on its face, but also I think really important from a ripple effect of everybody doing this work. So, having said all of that, would love for you to, take us through something a bit more specific. If people are, interested in this model and your, secret sauce, as it were, what are some key learnings? What would you say people should, think about if they're kind of tinkering with a XPRIZE-esque, model, as it were?
I mean, I think even for XPRIZE, which is now close, this is our 30th year. We actually turn 30 later this
Oh,
year.
wow, I
We've
cannot believe that.
launched, yeah, and so 30 years ago when XPRIZE was formed, it was really formed around one specific challenge, which was really unlocking a commercial space industry. Um, did the founders at that time realize that the prize model could be applied to so many other challenges and domains? We've since proven that. We now operate across 7 domains: learning and society, food, water, waste, health, space and exploration, climate and energy, biodiversity conservation, and deep tech. And we've proven what we found is that we've honed this model of, in our case, it's drive subsequent change through incentive competitions, and we've managed to then go apply that across all of these domains. Now, within each one, we reuse the same model, but also then go recognize as you're dimensioning a prize around health or biodiversity, you are going to do things a little bit differently. But what we found is that there's some ways in which prizes are modeled generically or ubiquitously drives impact. We Innovations are always coming out of our prizes. We're always raising awareness from prizes. We're always driving investment into spaces. But at the same time, we're also seeing very specific innovations or specific forms of impact that come out of it. So, the first Ansari X Prize actually drove policy change. At the point the prize was launched, it was illegal to launch a human into space, and the FAA actually ended up changing policy around that. There's we've had side effects like one of our prizes are global learning prizes. One team alone has subsequently, after the prize was over, gone on to educate 13 million children around the world just with that one innovation. Sometimes we've expedited change. The Ocean Discovery Prize ended up driving innovations that ended up mapping the ocean floor 10 years earlier than actually anybody expected it to do. So what we found is that when you've got a model that works, you can apply it towards a greater good. You can apply it towards other domains than what you start with. You just have to really think about what are the areas of your model that are driving that true impact, and then how do I then go, of course, apply that to another domain. The other learning I'd say from the whole thing is, since we didn't know that at the start, we didn't start out the X Prize with the mindset of how are we going to measure this impact. And if I had one learning from all of that, is I wish we had done that from the get go. Even if the way in which you're going to measure that impact is going to change, that's
Yeah.
fine. But if you start with that mindset, it's going to make it a lot easier later on down the line to retroactively go back and figure out how you would calculate all that impact.
It's music to my ears. I mean, I wish I had like a sweatshirt or something that said it's never too early to start, you're solidifying your KPIs. Like, you'll always be happy you did. It's also never too late, right? So
Right.
it's a great example on both sides. It would have been amazing to start earlier, and also you didn't, and it's still okay. So, measure early, measure often, but measure however it comes out. Um, this has been, an incredibly fruitful power chat. I can't believe we're already at our last question, but we are. And it is the future. What do you see? And to speak to somebody from XPRIZE about the future is like, it's basically your day job is looking into this crystal ball. But where do you see impact going? How do you see our work evolving? And if you were a betting person, where would you put your $100 on where impact is going?
Um, so I would say, first of all, I am seeing an increased amount of collaboration between organizations who are trying to measure their impact and sharing that information. So I would encourage everybody to share it. I don't, our impact model, our theory of change is, we have it documented on our webpage. I encourage you to read it and contact us if you've got a better idea, because organizations like us are attacking big problems that we ourselves can't solve. The whole world needs to. And so if we can share how we're going about that, then we can help each other. Personally, I think that more and more organizations are looking at some of the common problems we're facing, trying to figure out, to to your point of the $100, where to place those bets. And I think they're embracing more and more avenues to get there. Personally, I think the competition model, we're seeing it gaining in traction, and more types of organizations using it. We ourselves are seeing larger and larger competitions get launched. We just launched a $101 million competition a couple months ago, and we have a bigger one on the horizon. So I think there's recognition of the different vehicles you can use to place that bet and decide for this particular problem, which vehicle do I want to embrace? Personally, I think the competition model is one of those that's increasing in recognition that certain problems are best served by that, not to devalue any of the others. So with the increased focus on some of the grand challenges we all face, the increased capital going towards it, I think more and more of these avenues are going to be chosen. And I'd encourage everybody who's working, whether you're using a competition model or any other form of model, share what your model is, let people understand it, because there'll be backers out there that will want to get behind the way you're approaching the problem.
Amazing. Well, we love how you open sourced so much information. If you haven't been to xprize.org and you're interested in what Andrew's sharing, please, go check it out. And there's something for all of us to learn and I think take into our respective day jobs based on the work that you all have built in our building. So amazing to connect. Thank you for power chatting with us, and excited to see all that is on the horizon for XPRIZE and your team.
Thank you for having me, and thanks for allowing us to share a little bit about the way in which we change the world.
Absolutely.